Speed and Nguyen's Deep Dive podcast is an official podcast made by Speed Nguyen with the voice made from Google's Notebook LM. Do not reproduce our podcast without permissions from the owner. Welcome to the Speed and Nguyen's Deep Dive podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, imagine this. You pay for a year of, a premium VIP service up front. You've got your receipt, you are super excited for the upgrades, but when you show up at the front door to check in, the concierge just looks you dead in the eye and says your account literally does not exist.
It's a nightmare scenario, really.
Right. And today we're looking at exactly that. What happens when an invisible app update sparks a localized digital rebellion?
Yeah, and it is a genuinely fascinating scenario, a huge shakeup in the global streaming wars. We've got a massive stack of sources for this deep dive into the architecture of global streaming.
Oh, yeah, a really diverse stack today.
We're pulling from official HBO Help Center documents, historical data from Wikipedia, and some really deep financial analysis from Vietnamese media like Z News and Cafe Biz, plus data on local payment infrastructures.
And crucially, we have raw, unfiltered Reddit threads from users caught right in the middle of this, right?
Exactly. And some intercepted Cloudflare security blog pages that, well, they hint at a much larger digital cat-and-mouse game happening under the hood.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to explore the launch of HBO Max in Vietnam, because this was the very last market on Earth to retire the legacy HBO Go brand.
The absolute last one.
Yeah, and we aren't just talking about a logo changing on your phone screen. This transition reveals the hidden mechanics of, global media, local regulations, and consumer rebellion.
To really grasp the scale of what we're analyzing here, we have to look at the date. June 16, 2026.
Right.
According to Wikipedia, HBO Go is basically a relic in streaming years. It originally launched all the way back in February 2010.
Which is ancient history in tech time.
Totally. And in the U.S., that brand was completely dissolved by July 2020. But Warner Bros., Discovery, they kept it on life support in 8 Southeast Asian markets for years.
Slowly upgrading them, one by one.
Exactly. Yeah. Upgrading them one by one. And Vietnam remained the absolute last holdout globally, where the HBO Go brand was officially active.
Wow.
Yeah, so that entire era ended on June 15 to make way for the HBO Max launch the very next day.
Okay, let's unpack this. The official HBO Max transfer policy makes this transition sound like a seamless VIP hotel transfer.
Right, on paper it sounds great.
Yeah, according to the Help Center document in our sources, users are supposed to be able to simply port their adult profiles to a new or existing HBO Max account. Up to 5 profiles per account, actually.
Which is the standard setup, yeah.
So the corporate promise is that your avatar, your watch history, your My List, it all carries over perfectly. It's like you keep your luggage, you just get a nicer room.
Well, that is the intended frictionless user journey. From a database perspective, the goal is the one-to-one mapping of user IDs from the legacy server to the global backend.
But the reality was quite different.
The disconnect between the official documentation and the actual user experience is staggering. When the migration scripts encountered edge cases,
like users heavily stacked on long-term prepaid plans.
Exactly. When they hit those accounts, the bridge basically collapsed.
Yeah, and according to the HBO Max Reddit thread in our sources, these aren't just minor edge cases. They are alienating their most loyal customers.
It's a huge mess.
We have a user in that thread literally asking, anybody else have their HBO Go account not transferred to Max? Still have 11 plus months on my Go. Think about that friction.
It's incredibly frustrating for the consumer.
And another user replied that HBO support literally told them their account doesn't exist. This user had to dig through their emails to find an old Google Play order number just to prove they actually paid.
It points to a severe fragmentation in their billing architecture. When you rely on third-party vendors like Google Play or local telecom bundles for a legacy app,
it gets messy.
It gets notoriously brittle. Migrating that complex web of payment tokens to a centralized in-house system is incredibly difficult. Another user in that thread mentioned they were still paying for the next 3 months, and support gave them the exact same account not found response.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the original poster eventually updated the thread saying that after 3 different totally frustrating chats with support, they just gave up and canceled entirely.
That is just a disastrous first impression for a brand new premium service. You're actively slamming the door on the very people who already proved they are willing to pay you.
It really is.
Which makes the broader strategic pivot they're attempting here so baffling. Because when we look at the Cafe Biz source, We get a clear picture of the pricing war they are initiating, and it is incredibly aggressive.
The numbers definitely tell a compelling story about market acquisition. So the official pricing for HBO Max in Vietnam is 99,000 Vietnamese dong per month for the standard pack.
Which is what, roughly?
That's roughly $3.76. And the premium pack, which gives you 4K Ultra HD video, Dolby Atmos, and 4 devices at once, is 135,000 dong.
So about $5.15.
Right around there, yeah.
Why so cheap compared to the West? I mean, $5 for premium 4K is unheard of in the US. Aren't you just devaluing your premium brand in the long run?
It might seem like a race to the bottom, but it's a highly calculated loss leader strategy. It's designed to completely shatter the existing market hierarchy.
Okay, how so?
Well, their primary rival here isn't local television, it's Netflix. According to the Cafe Biz analysis, Netflix's standard plan in Vietnam sits at 231,000 dong.
Oh, wow. So Warner Bros. Discovery is coming in at less than half that price.
Exactly, and they are weaponizing their intellectual property. The launch on June 16 wasn't random. It was a very specific calendar content strategy.
Because of the big releases.
Right, just 6 days later, Season 3 of House of the Dragon premiered. DC's Lanterns follows in August, and the Harry Potter series is slated for Christmas.
So they are essentially trying to buy market share by locking people into this irresistible ecosystem right as the biggest cultural moments drop.
Precisely.
So what does this all mean for the actual transaction? I mean, how do you sell a premium recurring digital subscription in a country that operates on a completely different financial frequency? We are talking about a region that is largely unbanked.
That is the ultimate operational hurdle here. Our data from ADN illustrates the reality perfectly. 70% of Vietnam's population is unbanked.
70%, that's huge.
It is. Only 31% of the market share for online payments relies on traditional cards like Visa or MasterCard.
So you can't just throw up a standard credit card entry form and expect millions of signups.
Not at all. The ADN report actually notes that 26% of e-commerce relies on cash on delivery.
But obviously you can't deliver a digital streaming subscription with a guy on a motorbike holding out his hand for cash.
No, you definitely can't. So to bridge that massive gap, global streamers have to integrate into the local digital infrastructure. And that means relying on local digital wallets.
Right.
ADN highlights that digital wallet usage is 42% among the banked population and critically 17% among the unbanked.
And the dominant force there is Momo, right?
Yes, the absolute dominant force in this space is Momo, boasting over 20 million users.
So Warner Bros. Isn't just selling content. They are entirely reliant on a third-party, localized financial rail just to collect their revenue.
Precisely. Momo isn't a line of credit. It's a prepaid ecosystem. A user might walk into a convenience store, hand over physical cash to top up their Momo wallet, and then the HBO Max backend API pings that wallet every month to deduct the 99,000 dong.
And if the Momo balance is zero,
The stream stops. The global streaming giant is entirely tethered to the local digital pipes.
Okay, so they offer a radically cheap price, they leverage massive shows, and they figure out the Momo integration to collect the cash. On paper, it sounds like a slam dunk.
It really does.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because we have to ask what the users are actually getting for that money. And it turns out the product itself is fundamentally altered.
Yeah, this brings us to the core tension of global media operating within strict, localized regulatory environments. The content itself becomes a casualty of compliance.
We pulled a fascinating thread from the Our Vietnam subreddit posted right as the official pricing was announced. Users were initially thrilled about the price tag.
But then they hit play.
Exactly. One user wrote, "Just subscribed, been watching for an hour. While the price is good, but the show's movies are heavily censored. IG no nudity gore, though. Very disappointing."
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow.
Another user immediately replied, "The hell? Who wants to watch PG versions of adult shows?"
It is a profound compromise of the product's core identity. HBO built a decades-long legacy on boundary-pushing, unfiltered, adult-oriented television.
Right, that's what you're paying for.
Exactly. So delivering a sanitized PG version to comply with local broadcast regulations creates immense friction with a consumer base that knows exactly what they are missing.
And the users are highly aware of the landscape, too. They specifically point out in the Reddit thread that Netflix, operating in the exact same market, doesn't seem to feature the same heavy-handed censorship on their platform.
It's a glaring discrepancy for the consumer.
But what makes this dynamic truly compelling is the backdrop. The Z News article notes that right before the HBO Max launch, domestic authorities launched an aggressive crackdown on copyright infringement.
The timing is absolutely not coincidental.
Right.
In the days leading up to the official launch, numerous notorious websites specializing in distributing pirated movies and television were systematically shut down.
Or rendered inaccessible by local ISPs.
Right.
And the Reddit users connected those dots instantly. One user commented, "Nice to see we have more streaming options. Must be the result of the new law on piracy."
But another pushback noting, or the new law is a result of the streaming companies coming in. What's fascinating here is we are seeing a classic squeeze play.
Oh, definitely.
The unauthorized, uncensored avenues are being rapidly dismantled by authorities precisely at the moment a major authorized platform officially opens its doors.
Even though it's heavily censored.
Exact.
So what does a tech-savvy user do when they want the original, uncensored cut of a dragon battle, but the official app serves them a highly edited version? They look for a workaround.
They fire up a VPN.
Yeah, they use a VPN to tunnel into the US or European library, but they immediately hit a brick wall. And that brings us to the Cloudflare security block pages in our sources.
Yeah, those block pages. The message is blunt. It says, "Sorry, you have been blocked. This website is using a security service to protect itself from online attacks. The action you just performed triggered the security solution."
Which is wild. Let's look at the mechanism behind that, because it's brilliant but frustrating. Cloudflare doesn't just look at where your IP address claims to be located, right?
No, it analyzes the routing behavior.
Okay.
If it sees 10,000 requests pinging from a single data center IP address in Texas, it knows it's a VPN tunnel.
It's not just a residential user watching TV in their living room.
Right. So it drops the digital portcullis.
And blocks them completely.
It is the reality of modern digital architecture. The local government mandates compliance with their specific content standards.
Right.
And the global streaming service must deploy aggressive geo-blocking to maintain their regional licensing agreements and remain in legal compliance.
And the user is trapped in the middle, triggering automated security blocks just trying to watch a show the way the director originally filmed it.
Exactly.
The reaction to this massive multi-layered friction is incredibly telling. You've got lost accounts from a botched migration. You've got heavy censorship on the content you paid for. You've got VPNs getting aggressively blocked.
It's a perfect storm.
What does the consumer do? One of the top comments on that Reddit thread sums it up perfectly. They said, "The high C for me, baby. Can't be bothered to apply to 2-3 streaming service."
The high C. They return to piracy.
Yep.
Despite the government's intense crackdown, the sheer friction of the authorized experience drives the consumer right back to the unauthorized networks. It highlights a vital business truth.
Which is
Pricing is only one component of value. If the content is compromised and the user experience feels adversarial, a cheap subscription fee will not retain the audience.
So we're seeing Warner Bros. Discovery forced to censor Hollywood content to survive in this market. But the sources suggest the government isn't just policing imported media, right? They are actively building machinery to police their own citizens' digital influence.
That's right.
Let's look at the brand new National KOL Information Portal, because this represents a total shift in how the digital economy operates.
This is perhaps the most significant development in our entire source stack. The Z News article details the launch of col.gov.vn.
Right.
Operated by the Department of Broadcasting, Television, and Electronic Information. This is a formal, state-run database for KOLs, key opinion leaders, and KOCs, key opinion consumers.
And the portal itself is intense. The interface is divided into columns ranking individual creators and multi-channel networks.
It uses vertical bar charts to visualize their influence scores across social media.
But it's not just a leaderboard to see who has the most followers, is it?
No, not at all. The critical mechanism here is that individual KOLs, or businesses, can register to verify their identity and receive an official credibility certification or verification stamp directly from the government.
Wow. So it's basically a digital credit score.
Exactly. Just like a bad financial credit score means you can't get a loan, a bad KOL score means you can't get a brand deal. The stated goal, according to the source, is to help brands filter out clean content creators.
And minimize the risk of media crises.
Right, the kind that happen when brands collaborate with influencers who violate ethical standards or the law.
Wait, how do they actually enforce a certification like that? Are brands legally required to only use certified influencers?
Well, while it may start as a voluntary whitelisting system, the gravitational pull of state verification is immense. The authorities are essentially saying we will review and certify accounts that spread positive values, comply with the law, and are transparent in their advertising.
And they are actively developing community guidelines based on international models too, right? From the US, UK, and France.
Yes. So if a major brand wants to operate safely in the market, utilizing the state-approved list of creators becomes the path of least resistance.
Which is wild. If you're listening to this in the US or Europe, you might be thinking, why do I care about a Vietnamese influencer database?
Right.
But you should care because this is basically a beta test for the future of global internet regulation.
Absolutely.
It's a blueprint for turning the chaotic, decentralized creator economy into a formalized, licensed industry.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it represents a sweeping maturation of the digital ecosystem. We are watching the transition from a digital Wild West to a highly manicured, heavily managed environment,
Shutting down pirated movie sites to make way for global giants like HBO.
forcing those same global giants to censor their premium content to adhere to local broadcast standards.
And literally creating a government-certified database to track and rank internet influencers. It is all part of the same overarching initiative.
Everything is connected. The rules of the digital economy are being rewritten in real time. And everyone from the massive Hollywood studio executive to the local TikTok creator has to adapt to this highly regulated framework.
Or risk being blocked entirely.
Right. The digital economy is no longer operating in the shadows or at the fringes. It is being brought directly into the light, organized, categorized, and subjected to rigorous oversight.
So what does this all mean for us? Let's trace the journey of today's deep dive. We started with what looked like a mundane, invisible app update.
The final retirement of the HBO Go brand, making way for HBO Max in Vietnam.
Exactly. But digging into the sources, we uncovered a massive, tangled web of friction. We saw the messy reality of the migration, where the rigid architecture of legacy billing systems resulted in loyal users losing prepaid accounts.
And fighting with customer service bots.
Yeah. We looked at the aggressive loss leader pricing wars, with HBO Max drastically undercutting Netflix, and the absolute necessity of integrating with local digital wallets like Momo just to collect a subscription fee from a largely unbanked population.
We also examined the intense friction of local censorship, where users are paying for premium content but receiving PG-edited versions of adult shows.
Which led to a technical clash between users trying to spoof their location with VPNs, automated Cloudflare security walls dropping the portcullis, and a frustrated consumer base returning to piracy.
And finally, we zoomed out to see how all of this, the streaming wars, the aggressive pricing, the piracy crackdowns, how it all ties into a sweeping national initiative to regulate the internet.
Culminating in a literal government database acting as a digital credit score for internet influencers. It is a stunning look at what happens when global tech and local reality collide.
It really is.
Yeah.
And looking at all of this, it leaves us with a critical question to consider no matter where we live.
What's that?
As global entertainment giants and massive tech platforms continue to expand, they're increasingly forced to adapt to strict local regulations, highly unique financial infrastructures, and heavily filtered content protocols. So, will the idea of a singular global internet disappear entirely?
That's a great question.
In the near future, the internet, or the HBO Max you experience, might be a fundamentally different reality than the one experienced by someone living just one country over.
The internet is fracturing, and the streaming wars are just the fault lines. See you again in the next episode of this podcast.